Alright, so before we get into the video, I want to just answer a few common questions that people usually have about the coaching so that the info is out there. So firstly, people ask me how long they last and the prices, and as for this, the duration, a session is around an hour and a half to 2 hours usually, and the price is currently 15 for a session. And as for if I do live coaching, if I do VODs, if I do all of that stuff, like, it's whatever. Like, whatever you like is whatever you get. I don't really mind if it's a replay, a VOD, a live, or whatever else. And I'll also put up most of the times when I'm usually available on the screen now, just so that people know this. And without further ado, we can just get into the video. Hello, and welcome to another video. Today we want to talk about specifically how someone around gold would improve. So that might be gold or silver or plat, whatever, in the jungle role. And we're going to use a specific example of Evelynn to really present the ideas on a case. And you can adapt that to your own champion, though obviously you will have to find some of the info and apply that yourself, but it should still show you how to do it anyway. So alright, we're going to focus on breaking down the game into 4 main parts, and in each part we're going to study some specific stuff which we want to really focus in on. So the 4 parts of the game that we're going to break down are the pregame, where we're going to be looking at stuff like runes, when should we be dodging, like when is our champion not pickable or something, you know, and like what items and whatever we like to build and what we think is good. So just the preparation for actually playing the champion. Then after that, we're going to be looking at the early game, where we're specifically going to focus on the first 10 minutes of the game. We're going to look at how we want to clear, what we want to focus on when we're clearing, how we want to actually approach the game, and then some small stuff about like Dragon Herald or whatever, but mostly just really focusing in on those first 10 minutes of the game. And our goal in this video is to reach something like Diamond, not really to go completely sky high elo, but just to reach something like that, right? So we're not going to be trying to do everything perfect, but rather trying to do everything pretty well. Alright, then after that, we're going to get into the mid game. So this is going to be something between, it's going to start for us between like minute, I don't know, like the earliest it'll really start is like 10, but that's really unlikely. So more like 15 minutes in, we're going to start like somewhere there, because the minute 10 to 15 are pretty much the same as the early game. It's just an extension, but there is nothing too important there usually compared to the other stages. And we're going to focus on like minute 15 to 25 or something, and try to really figure out how we can win games at this point, because this is when we want to close out most of our games, and we want this to be basically the deciding point of our game at that point. Though obviously sometimes we're going to be in a position where we have to go to late game, and that's why we will touch a bit on late game as well, but we won't focus on it too much in this video. So alright, let's get right into it. Alright, so for Evelynn specifically, the rune page that we will be running today is this electrocute setup with sorcery second, and this is the page that we will outline the plans for. And for items, we're very simply just going to go through the AP items. We're gonna go blue pet, like we're just gonna get our blue pet every game. And then after that, we're going to rush our Sorks boots. So Sorks, then get a Dark Seal, then we're gonna get our Mythic, then we're gonna get Providence, and then we're gonna be a bit situational after that and the usual Evelynn stuff, but really a standard build. We're not gonna prioritize Magi's though, we're going to prioritize going Hextech and Providence. Alright, so that's really all we need about the runes and the items. As for when we will dodge if our team picks more than like 3 AP. 3 AP maybe we still play if the enemy isn't full tank. That's up to your discretion. otherwise, you either pick a different champion or you just accept dodging. And we're not gonna dodge really because of team comps or matchups. And you can ban whatever you like. That's up to you with your own preference, and that's that. This is going to be our pregame. So with this, we already know what we're gonna do until we get into game. And now let's ease into the early game. Alright, so with the early game, the most important thing that we will actually look at is firstly to look at the clear of our champions. So we're going to try to optimize our clear. For Evelynn specifically, you can use my video which describes the way you clear on Evelynn, but you don't need to get it as well as in that video, because all you really need is for it to be good enough. So we're going to be aiming for something like, I don't know, let's say 310 leashless on blue start and like 325 on red start leashless, and then you also get leashes and whatever. So just be like 5 seconds behind whatever times I got in the video, and that's fine enough. And you don't need to focus on F keying too much, because F keying and stuff is something that really matters a lot when you're like master and above, but below that it's not as important, especially on Evelynn and stuff. It's obviously it's a good thing if you can do it, but it's going to take a lot of your mental stack to do it, and it's not gonna give you as much of a return in terms of what you will end up gaining in elo. So very simply, in the early game, we're going to choose to do a simple clear. So this is our default plan as Evelynn, right? And we're going to try as much as we can to not stray from this plan, because we don't need the nuances. You can learn the nuances later. If you want the best improvement process, that's going to be something different. But what we're trying to do right now is to improve, but also get our elo. And we're not aiming to be challenger, we're aiming to be like diamond. And if we want to be diamond, then having a set plan is perfectly fine. So we're going to have a plan with a full clear. We can say it like that. And okay, so we're getting through this, right? And then as we, let's just skip through this. As we get to the end of our clears, right, we're going to start really thinking about what we want to do at these points, because we want to make sure that we have a consistent part of our gameplay, and we want to have something that we can adapt on. And that's going to be a really simple way for us to get higher. So at the end of your clear, you're going to be thinking about, okay, well, can I gank this? Can I gank this? Or can I fight something, you know? And if none, then you just like ward something, you know? Because we, as I said in previous videos, we used the yellow trinket and we ward it in so the enemy can't like gank and stuff. And then you're gonna reset and do stuff on the other side of the map. Also, I should mention this in terms of where we're going to path to and where we're gonna start. This is an important point. As our champion is an assassin that scales pretty well, we're going to choose to start on the side where we think we will be able to get kills at the end of our clear. So this is different, because in this scenario, you can easily argue that you want to start blue, you get a good leash, and you can get a kill here. And that is perfectly fine. In high elo, it's not the best, because I don't want to get an Ornn ahead, though it can still be fine, because I'm getting myself ahead. But in low elo, honestly, I would even say that it's not a bad idea at all, because you want to be the carry, right? We're gonna play to be the sole carry. So I don't have an issue with that. And this is how we're gonna approach that. And then at the end of the clears, we're going to do whatever it is, right? Whatever might happen doesn't really matter too much. And we're gonna try to get one scuttle. And after whatever happens, right, we're gonna make sure that we clear again. So you're gonna make sure you clear at least 2 camps again. And after you clear some camps, whatever, I died here, happens. After you clear like 2 camps at least, you're going to look if you can gank something. And if you cannot, then you will keep clearing. And if you can, then you will gank. And at the same time, you will look for enemy jungle camps. For example, if the enemy jungler right now decides to go top lane and gank this, if it was like a different lane state, right? Then we would take his camps. And this is going to be our biggest priority in the early game. We're going to try to get as many of our camps, as many free ganks, and as many enemy camps as possible, while not really focusing too much on our laners, or making sure that their game is as enjoyable as possible, or whatever else, right? So that's going to be our plan for the early game. And then let's get into the mid game. Alright, so we will mark mid game with a time when the bot lane takes a tower and we start going mid lane with the bot lane, and we can do some other stuff now, right? So we're gonna look for a fight still and picks whenever we have ult. So if your ult is up, you're gonna look for a fight or a pick or whatever, and you're highly going to start prioritizing the enemy jungle camps. Because if you take the enemy jungle camps, they have nothing to get, they can't finish their jungle pet, and they're just gonna be falling really far behind without just getting like a coin flip fight where they get a bunch of kills. So while you have ult, do fight, but then after you use your ult, if it's ever possible, take the enemy jungle camps. If it's not possible, then take your own jungle camps. That's going to be our general plan. And what we're trying to rush for here is to get up to Rocket Belt, Sorks, and then trying to rush the Rabadons with level 11. That would be the best. Obviously, we won't have Rabadons at level 11, but we can just try to get it as early as possible, right? So that's our new plan. So yeah, look for kills if you can. Otherwise, especially when you have ult, look for kills. But otherwise, just look for enemy camps whenever it's possible. You want to make sure to do your camps as the last priority, because enemy camps will give you a lot more than your own camps in terms of a lead. Because in mid game, it actually does start to matter if you took all of the enemy camps. So like here, for example, I chose to just get my ult down, whatever, I traded ults, but I already got like half the enemy camps, right? So now I can look for random stuff. And yeah, with this, you will try to get as much gold as possible. So you can see here, I'm already getting on the way to Rabadons. I'm double needlessly almost. And this should be fine, right? Like maybe you kill him, maybe you take this camp, maybe whatever. And you should be able to snowball like this, as long as you follow these 2 core rules. Try to take as many of the enemy camps as you can, and always look for fights whenever you have ult. Like, obviously don't force a fight where you're gonna just die randomly, but if it's possible, just look for a fight. Because whenever you have ult, and if you're not behind, you will be able to win most fights, or at least try to win them, or at least get a kill. If you can get kills, you're gonna be really huge. Finally, at the end, we will focus on the later stage of the game. So after 20 minutes, after 25 minutes, and so on. So after 20 to 25 minutes, you will still focus on taking the enemy camps, but now you can't always make a play whenever you have ult, right? So now we're more focused on finding a small pick. So for example, this is a pick when the enemy like tries to flank and you catch them off. And off that pick, we will always try to either make a fight happen or try to take an objective, whichever one it might be. If Baron wasn't up here, for example, you try to like set up a fight or something, or take enemy camps at least. That can also be a mini objective. And you can see that this pattern keeps repeating. So we looked for a pick, and then we took an objective. Then here, I don't think I even get the time to look for a pick, but enemy looks for a pick. And then I think we end up finding it. And because we end up finding some fix or whatever, we just focus the objective again, right? Then we just chase them down and we take this dragon. And then the next pattern is like similar. You try to make sure that all of the lanes get pushed out, and you just recognize, okay, pushing, this guy is going to push, and this guy's pushing. And you try to recognize which lanes are going to be pushing the first, right? Ideally, all of the lanes would be pushing at the same time, and then you're guaranteed to basically get some towers or whatever. But obviously in solo queue, your teammates will not be able to make every lane push at the same time and make a sort of a pulse, which would break through the enemy base. And instead it's going to be like one by one, kind of. So this guy is obviously going to push out as the first one, right? So if we see that, then we just want to run to him. Because see, like this guy is not even able to push because I think he's weaker. Yeah, he's like weaker than me. And this guy's like orange pushing mid lane, so like, okay, I mean, yeah, but he doesn't do anything. And this guy's the only really vulnerable person on the map. So you find the vulnerability that's pushing out in your team and you hover that, ideally. And that's how you will find enemies collapsing, pretty much. If you can get stuff like this, then you get towers, you get whatever, and you're chilling. This is basically how you play later on into the game as Evelynn. TLDR. And then this is the last and final part. If your teammates are inting, then you need to let them die. And if you can't contest something, if you don't have ult, do not contest it. Like, just don't. Just give it. Like right here, you can lose the game easily. Like, you just have to watch the enemy take it and move on. Because otherwise, you just lose the game and you're like, well, what do I do? FF. Because you have 0 impact village rule. So these are the core principles that we're going to follow whenever we play Evelynn. And the rest of this is just going to be how we, like, micromanage our fights, right? So, like, how we mechanically play fights, if we know our damage and stuff like that. But that's stuff you learn just by playing a few games. And ideally, if you follow the ideas in this video and you play Evelynn, then you should climb to at least diamond and, I don't know, let's say 200 games or something. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't, because this is all you really need to be like a diamond player on Evelynn. Honestly, it would be less games if you already know the damage and the micro stuff. And this doesn't really matter if you're silver, gold, or plat. I think either way, it should be enough for you. So yeah, let me know if you felt that this taught you anything. And if not, then, I don't know, you can just say that you already knew all of it. Either way, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.